Welcome to the Nightly Nuge.
Welcome to another edition of the Nightly Nuge. Good evening, Ted. How are you this evening?
I'm doing wonderful, Keith, and a happy Nightly Nuge to you and all those great families across America. And if I may just take a moment to say thank you to everybody out there for all the goodwill, the decency, the positive energy and spirit that I get on Facebook every day and walking the not so mean streets of America. Thank you for celebrating truth, logic, and common sense and sharing it with your old Uncle Ted. I feel the love. Thank you all very much.
You know, Ted, I know you've been reading like I have. We had some just devastating fires in Colorado here recently. A lot of finger pointing going on with that. Tons of houses burnt, a lot of acreage burnt, and the fingers getting pointed at global warming. There is some people, though, rising up and saying, hey, how about we have a little better policy when it comes to our forest? And the last thing I did want to mention, they're calling this an urban fire as opposed to a forest fire, which is what it was actually. But what's your take on all that's going on out there in Colorado?
Well, number one, I think I represent truth, logic, and common sense by starting off saying that caring American families, which is most of us, are praying for the victims because they've experienced tragic loss and heartbreak. And it's a very, very difficult time. So genuinely, we are on bended knee praying for the families in Colorado whenever tragedy strikes. But this is another example of a manifestation of cultural abandonment. Now that Boulder, Colorado, and all the dope smoking hippies are running policy in Colorado, it's a perfect example where the mountain lion and the black bear is so dangerously overpopulated because they don't allow hounds or bait to adequately harvest the right number of mountain lions and bears. But since we can't hunt in the spring or use hounds or bait, Colorado has determined, based on some hippie in Boulder, that we, the people, can't adequately or responsibly harvest lions and bears, but they will force our tax dollars out of our pocket and hire government hunters to kill lions and bears using the methodology that they forbid us to use. That's all you need to know about how Colorado bureaucrats have absolutely lost their soul. That being said, the finger should really be pointed at the same anti-science, anti-nature policies that reflect the black bear and the mountain lion miscalculation to the miscalculation and the abandonment of Forest Management 101. When you protect forests indiscriminately, you create kindling. And when there is a fluctuation in temperature and when there is a spark, regardless of its origin, then all that kindling will burn. Whereas, based on the guitar player's lifetime of planting tens of thousands of trees and harvesting an adequate number of those trees once they get beyond usage or at the peak of their usage, thereby reducing the kindling factor, you can reduce the danger of forest fires, whether it's urban, suburban, or rural. Doesn't really matter where the forest fire takes place. There's going to be damage. And now Colorado is paying for that by listening to disconnected, dishonest, fake news who just don't care.
You know, you and I usually reserve our hunting conversations for the weekend edition, but any good hunting stories from the time you've spent in the great state of Colorado you want to share?
Boy, I'll tell you, Keith, I started going out to Colorado, the Uncompahgre National Forest, my old 1970 Bronco with my Boy Scout mess kit and pup tent and my bear recurve bow.
And what was on the radio? What was on the radio when you were listening? You told me that story driving out.
Yeah, it was John Denver, Colorado, Rocky Mountain High. And I had the windows rolled down in that Bronco, just throttling through those mountain passes, singing along with John Denver. And my mom eventually had a T-shirt made, "Can John Denver survive in a Ted Nugent world?" And on the back of the T-shirt, it said, "Can Ted Nugent survive in a John Denver world?" But he was a spirit of the wild guy. And he was just a musical genius and a fine, kind, positive human being. But that song really, it articulated and represented that spirit of the wild, spirit of the wilderness, spirit of a Colorado Rocky Mountain high, a natural high. And I shot a beautiful, on September 10th, 1975, I shot a beautiful 28.5-inch 5x5 velvet mule deer bouncing down the ridgeline with my bare recurve at about 40 yards right through the pump station. And what wonderful memories. And I've killed bear and mule deer and had great times. I have great friends in Colorado. So I know the heart and soul of the definition of rugged individualism, that Jeremiah Johnson, Davy Crockett, Daniel Boone spirit, which is alive and well in 2022 in Colorado. And the great ranchers and farmers and cops and teachers and landowners and the sportsmen and the conservationists of Colorado, they should go to hunternation.org and make sure that they take that great hunting wildlife paradise back.
Well, there you have it. You're up to speed again today, and I hope you all have a great Rocky Mountain high of an evening. You too, Ted. Thanks for another insightful evening.
You bet. God bless America. God bless the real Rocky Mountain high, Keith.